I'm sorry I ever doubted you.
And call me names.
Yes, right. I am sorry for all those things. Vin Diesel is dying.
Hey, welcome back to iThursdays, where every Thursday for the rest of Season 1 for the iCarly revival, we talk about and discuss the most recent episode of the show that premiered this morning. I have sleeping issues. The back half of the first season has been pretty great for the most part in my opinion, and now we have the first of the final 3 episodes to discuss today. To think Season 1 is already almost over is honestly pretty crazy. It feels like it was just several weeks ago when the show premiered. That's because it was. And last week's episode was the most, adult yet, tackling its foray into some more risque topics than it had previously been doing before. But now I'm not expecting this episode today to bring more of all that back right away. But with how much I have enjoyed the last handful of episodes, I am still very excited to see what's in store, as well as getting excited with where the final 2 episodes after this leave us until Season 2 premieres next year most likely. Which, yes, I'll announce it here, of course I will be covering. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more of these videos every week, make sure to hit the like button as it truly helps out the video, and I will do the impossible and create a guide that will help you survive school. Episode 11, I Can Fix It Myself. Okay, Bob the Builder. We start this week's episode in Spencer's apartment where everyone is playing some Go Fish as Harper is eagerly awaiting to hear back if she got the job working for Double Dutch, an emerging pop star who is blowing up on social media with over 1 million followers and a blue checkmark on Instagram. And as Carly has to leave, everyone offers to let her borrow one of their cars, as they all know her car has a bunch of issues and, well, barely runs. Like me. You see, the joke is that I don't run and I also have We know, it wasn't funny. And of course, we cut to Carly standing in a taco costume that she needed to pick up for an upcoming iCarly web show sketch next to her broken down old punch buggy waiting for the mechanic to pull up. The said mechanic arrives in magnificent fashion, or in a Ford commercial or something. Ford, it do be built. Carly is a bit flustered and the mechanic here, Wes, has a great semi-flirty back and forth with Carly throughout the whole interaction. We learn the car's name is Vin Diesel because it has a VIN number and it takes diesel, which she quickly finds out that it takes unleaded. Well, ma'am, I took a look under the hood and found your problem. Wes tells her all the problems with her car that would need to be fixed, letting her know the worth of the car is not what it would be worth for the repairs. Immediately, Carly gets defensive in the conversation towards her car, saying you can't put a price on worth. Well, yes you can, Carly. This Pokemon card here means a lot to me and I love it, but it's worth like 54 cents. Carly ends up getting the car towed back to her place, but a quick side note, in the background during this whole scene, we see many pedestrians filming Carly, whether it's for her fame for who she is, or the fact that a person wearing a taco outfit had their vintage car broken down on the side of the road. I still found this little never mentioned detail funny. Back at the apartment, she's showing the others her repairs total out to around $15,000. That's like one of these. She should be buying a new car instead, obviously, but for some reason she just can't let good old Vinny go the way of the dinosaurs. Also, another side note, this episode is directed by Freddie, yes, Nathan Kress, which is cool to see. He may have been taking a bunch of L's throughout the show so far, but this is a big W for Fredward, so good on ya. Over at Spencer's, him and Maeve, while enjoying some wine, get into a rather interesting discussion regarding faking it, which Spencer believes is about the motion of the oceans that took place last night, if you catch my drift. But really, the motion of the ocean she meant was about the kidnapping story from the last episode, which was heavily predicted by most viewers as something as big as someone being kidnapped for 4 years and suddenly showing up being completely glossed over with no real details of how she made it back truly. I do like how they split this coming clean story from last week's episode to have it as the B plot for this episode, giving Maeve a fun reason to interact with these characters. In fact, I would say that this episode has 3 plots. Both B and C interact, as C is the smallest, but plays a role that both includes the A and the B plot. I'll explain as we go along as to why I personally see it as 3 plots split up rather than 2, but for now, let's move on. The truth comes down to when their family lost all their money and her not wanting to deal with the press and more especially the bill collectors, she just gets on a cruise and leaves. Spencer is happy though about her wanting to come clean about everything, and it feels like there is a real connection between the two. It for once feels like Spencer is truly into her beyond his bachelor-esque reasonings we have seen before. Only problem is, she has to tell Harper, in which they both know she won't take easily. As for the 4 years she was gone, she did everything she could to search for her and make note of her disappearance, so this wasn't going to be an easy task. Carly and Freddie both take an auto repair class so they both don't get screwed over in the future by mechanics on costs to fix their car, but it turns out that the instructor of the class is the mechanic. Yeah, saw that one coming a mile away. But most every show at one point has a plot like this, not specifically a mechanical one, but more relating to a side character appearing as another character that you weren't expecting but also were expecting to show up again.
Wow, you're really good at describing things.
Thanks. Which is also something we've similarly seen in the new episodes of iCarly, and well, almost any TV show at this point. But it's about making the character's plot more interesting based on the characters involved in it, not necessarily creating original scenarios for them to be in. Carly questions his ulterior motives as a way for him to make money here as a mechanic by not properly teaching the class. Turns out the shop that he is teaching at is his as well. But this playful banter continues between Carly and West as she is going full-on skeptic about everything. He then asks her to show everyone how to check the oil since she starts acting like she's above the knowledge needed to be taught. And thanks to her ego on the matter, she messes things up and ends up covered in oil. We'll touch back on my full point of her acting this way, especially with Wes, a bit later on. Back at Harper's, we see Maeve and Spencer setting up flowers, charcuterie board spreads, and even a photo of their other cousin Roxy, who I think is a picture of Francesca Ramsey, one of the producers and writers of the show. The thought process was to build everything up positively around Harper to then have Maeve tell her the truth. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Harper was super hyped already regarding getting the job and thought that this is what they were here to do, celebrate that she got the job. So Maeve doesn't come out with the truth, and Spencer is a bit disappointed but understands the circumstances. He's willing to help her in figuring out how to get over this massive hump, which also shows me how much he actually has fallen for her. She also seems genuinely into him as well, and so far not as a ploy or a fake relationship in order to give her a place to stay currently, which if she lied about something as big as a 4-year kidnapping, it could be a possible thing she could lie about this too. But so far it seems she's legit into Spencer for the right reasons. Now at Spencer's talking about all this, Double Dutch, the pop star Harper just got the job for, turns out to be in Spencer's kitchen and overheard everything. But don't forget, Harper works out of his apartment now, so she was there waiting for a meeting and presentation from Harper, or else it would have just been a weird break-in and no one questions it. She turns out to be your typical diva who thinks ultra highly of herself and hey, maybe even speaks to herself like I do.
No, she's not as weird as you.
I need sleep. Double Dutch loosely makes it seem like she might let the secret out to Harper, which worries them and causes them to focus on not letting her spill the tea. In the parking garage, Carly and Freddie are working on her car with the help of Millicent until the car completely starts falling apart, leaving her with no other option but to call over the only person she knows personally at this moment who could fix it. Wes. Also, Freddie gets electrocuted here, and dang, you almost made it through this episode without taking an L. But since you directed it, you partially did this to yourself, sir. She begs Wes to fix the car and tries saving it from being totally junked out as she exclaims again that she can't give up on this car. She won't even consider getting a new one, and he agrees to help her on the spot and gets to work. During Harper's meeting with Double Dutch, Spencer interferes as to make sure she doesn't tell Harper the secret, causing a bunch of commotion and distractions, resulting in him being told to leave, but when he's about to go, he knocks over the tea that he brought all over the floor. So when Maeve walks in, Spencer, with specific wording, says, "He spilled the tea." You can already tell where this is going now. Maeve takes that as if he told her the truth and begins apologizing and explaining everything to Harper, all while in the background Spencer is showing her that he didn't spill the tea, he spilled that tea. But hey, Double Dutch didn't do it. Carly and Harper go back and forth about their respective issues like they usually do with each other as we wait to hear the news on the car. We can see how Harper is greatly frustrated with her cousin now, as well as how frantic Carly is in waiting for the news. When Wes finally comes in to let her know about her car, he lets her know that it didn't make it and it cannot be repaired. Carly gets super emotional about it, and Wes pokes in on why that is. Carly begins explaining why, as her and Sam actually bought that car together while she was in college. Sam also named the car Vin Diesel. We hear all about the stories of trips they went on together in the car, and since she moved away with the biker gang, she views this car as her last attachment to her. It was never about the car, it was about Sam. I'm not crying. You're crying.
No, you're crying.
You're right, but so are you.
Oh my god, you're right. I am crying as well.
It was quite a touching scene, at least speaking about Sam and how much her friendship meant to Carly. I know a lot of people aren't interested in the show without Sam, but I do like that they try their best here to keep the spirit of Sam alive in the universe and not turn that aspect of it into the punchline of a joke. Plus, the cool little details we get to hear about the gap between shows helps fill in the universal lore the show has built. belt. Carly then tries to pay Wes, but he says keep it and put it towards a new car instead. But before he leaves, he asks her out on a date. Here is what I was mentioning earlier. It was clear from the beginning that Carly already was into him, and their flirty banter made that even clearer. But something Carly does a lot, especially when someone she kind of likes but is at odds with at some points, is do this half flirting, half I'm an independent person and don't need you-esque dialogue like we saw in the repair class. She's done it before with many guys she's been interested in throughout the original iCarly show, and it looks like that character trait hasn't been lost to time. I do think Wes and Carly had pretty good chemistry during this episode. Now, I don't know if this is a lasting relationship that will show up again later, or it will be turned into a joke about them not working out in the next episode. Either way, the lesson we get here is, did he fix her car for free to ask her out on a date? I leave you all with that to ponder over. Spencer reveals that he made a new piece for the studio, and it was completely turning the old buggy into a freshly put together art piece and sitting display, similar to the old car seats they once had, symbolizing the beautiful memories Carly has from what once was a car fading away due to time. It's also good to see Spencer creating stuff, especially stuff that feels inspired by the current events happening in the episode to relate to it, as well as representing a piece of the old show that people remember fondly. I guess this truly puts the car in iCarly.
Boo. Boo, you suck.
Maeve reconciles with Harper with a full-on apology, and it, to me, makes it seem that she may be here to stay as a cast member for good. Whether she stays Spencer's love interest or not, she really settled in here with the cast. Time will tell on that. Now remember the A, B, and C plots I was speaking about earlier? To explain that more, the A plot was for sure Carly's car situation, with Freddie and Millicent being smaller supporting characters to that story, left with not too much to do. That's fair, as Freddie was busy directing the whole episode, I guess. The B plot being Spencer and Maeve's coming out with the truth of her kidnapping story to Harper, which interacts with a smaller C plot of Harper getting the job and working with Double Dutch. Now, not that it matters a whole lot, but you can easily combine B and C and just call that whole thing the B plot, but I feel that there was enough standalone substance and multiple weaving stories that interacted outside of the B plot that Harper's story had to consider it its own plot, the C plot. Overall, this was a decent episode, not my favorite, but nothing near the worst outing we've seen. Definitely still on the better side of things. Completely feeling naturally in its own groove. I think the interactions between Carly and Wes fell in line with how Carly's character is, and their chemistry felt right, just like Spencer and Maeve's feels pretty solid already for their relationship. There's still a whole lot up in the air for how the season is going to end, but with this episode feeling less affecting to the bigger picture, it did a great job feeling self-contained and yet super connected to everything else that has been going on. A nice blend of everything. Plus, having Freddie direct the episode that pays some good tribute to Sam added just a nice little cherry on top of all of it. I would have liked to have seen Freddie and Millicent used for something more than a few background aided moments throughout, but now having 6 main lead characters, I am sure this juggling act will only get better going forward, as they hopefully in season 2 will feel less restricted to the TV sitcom guidelines of 22 to 24 minutes. Again, it's on a streaming service, but we will speak more on this in the larger discussion when season 1 is over. That was this week's episode of the iCarly Revival. You've heard my thoughts, now I would love to hear yours down below in the comments. Were you feeling this episode? Were you not? Please feel free to share all of that. Well, only 2 episodes left, so what are you expecting to see before the show ends its first season? What cameos, any cliffhangers? There's a million possibilities, but I have had a lot of fun on this journey of taking a show I enjoyed when I was younger and making it something for a more adult audience. I appreciate you all checking out this video. It means a lot to me that you choose to spend a few moments of your day here. Hit the like button if you want to see more videos like this, as it truly helps out. I'll be back every Thursday for what's left of season 1 for iThursday, so I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Subscribe to be a part of my journey through movies and television and how these films and shows affected my life from the past and present. I'll be back soon with another video, but until then, later.